Child labor is a crucial conflict all over the world that does not receive the attention it deserves. Contrary to popular belief, child labor is much more common than one would think. This issue can be found all over the world in places one would least expect it, even in our own backyard. Although some cases of child labor are not as serious as others, every finding of this matter should be taken as seriously as the next. Although some say that there are many issues that are more important than child labor because children work to help support their family that receives a low income, we believe children should be guaranteed the right to live and experience education and a normal childhood. Since 1900s, efforts to eliminate child labor have been a feature of social reform in the U.S. The Great Depression was a huge factor that jump-started child labor again. With such a high unemployment rate and so many small businesses going out of business, many employers began hiring young children because they are willing to work for such a low salary. Many people would think that our government would have put a stop to this very quickly because of harmful conditions children were being exposed to. But in fact, a law wasn't made regarding child labor laws until 1938, in which the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 was passed, setting regulations on child labor and setting wages and hours.
The height of the summer harvest season, and our hidden camera report showed how some corporations have delivered the fruit to your supermarket and maybe to your table. ABC News first showing pictures of very small children toiling in blueberry fields, not on family farms, but for commercial growers in illegal, hot, and dangerous conditions. Well, tonight, that story is back with ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross.
It's an ugly secret in American agriculture, out of sight, far from the main roads. Children as young as 5-year-old Suli working in the country's fruit and vegetable fields. We found Suli and her 7- and 8-year-old brothers during an ABC News investigation in the blueberry fields of large commercial farms in Michigan. It's legal for young children to work on the family farm, but this is much different.
Every year there are children who die in agriculture. These kids, they're working with sharp knives, sharp tools, heavy machinery, there are tractor rollovers.
Now, as part of a promised crackdown in the wake of our investigation 2 years ago, the Department of Labor has gone after 3 commercial strawberry growing operations in Washington state.
They're really picking adult quantities of berries, up to 200 pounds of berries a day. They're stooping over to pick those berries. We hear these kids complaining about having backaches, sometimes to the extent that they can't sleep at night. We see pretty severe bruises on little knees.
Even more dangerous is repeated exposure to the pesticides used in the agricultural industry, something 8-year-old Edgar was well aware of when we met him in 2009.
They could poison themselves because it's too dangerous for them, or sometimes they could go to the hospital.
There's no way to know just how much of the country's fruits and vegetables are picked by children. But advocates say low, by-the-bucket pay often forces families to put their children in the fields by their sides. In this new crackdown on the strawberry fields of Washington state, the Department of Labor invoked what is called the hot goods rule, meaning that all of the fruit picked illegally by children could not be sold to stores. Human rights group says that's a move that is long overdue, Diane.
But the parents bring them there, so...
They do indeed. They take them there because those little fingers bring more berries into the buckets, and they all get paid for that, and they say they can't survive without putting their children to work. So it's a very ugly system.
Brian Ross, back on the case tonight. Thank you, Brian.
Another case in which child labor takes place in America is the case involving Walmart, in which people might think of it as an unimportant issue. Although many people would think this, most don't know that 24 violations were discovered in 3 different states. This is an extremely dangerous matter in which children are in harm's way. People don't understand that some of these children were operating dangerous and heavy machinery and other things that could seriously injure them. This case is similar to what occurred between Hershey and Whole Foods. In this situation, Whole Foods discovered that a factory in which they received supplies from had their employees employed under the age of 15. Whole Foods remained true to their word and they stopped supplying Hershey's chocolate in their stores. Since then, till this day, and hopefully in the future, a number of successful efforts will be made to diminish the problem of child labor around the world. And although child labor has been substantially eliminated, it still poses a problem in the areas of the world and our economy.